Racing in prospect, and Ben Barneycoat there in the Racing Sex Foundation colours for Vortex, starting on the third row of the grid. The championship leader now by just 1 point from the Manor MP Motorsport car of Stein Schothorst, and he again is going to be a man to watch in this. I think Stein Schothorst, who has not yet had a win, but he did take a second place at Hockenheim earlier on in the season. David Addison and Ben Constanduras trackside then, as we look forward to what has all the makings, Ben, of being another cracking Formula Renault race.
Absolutely, and it'd be interesting to see what Ben Barneycoat can do in this one. It was very, very fast in qualifying and very good in race one, but it starts only down in 5th or 6th position for this race, and therefore has some work to do. Leads the championship, but only 1 point between them as we head into round 9.
The grid about to be formed then. They've had that last lap of warming up the tyres, and now they slot into place on the grid. Kevin Jurg, the man on pole position, the very distinctive ART Junior team colours. In other words, for this purpose, the Lotus livery of Callan O'Keefe, lining up with him at the front of the grid. The rest of the cars, as I say, everyone has the same base chassis, slotting into position lower down. And then, as soon as the last man is in position, Harry Salminen, then the indication can be given that we are ready to go racing. Jules Grunon there, slots into place. Dad is on the pit wall to cheer him on. Jean Delatraz is here to cheer on Louis. And so, as everybody is back to where they should be, 11 laps we're looking at as the distance for this 25 minutes of racing. Course car slots in at the back of the grid. Green flag heralds the arrival of the marshal to say everyone's there. They can now concentrate on the lights that go out, and a rather untidy start. It was not a long hold on the red. Some crept, some stopped. It was a little bit scrappy, but Kevin Jurg gets away well. Callan O'Keefe missed the start rather. Stein Schothorst has made a decent getaway round the outside, trying to get second as they go through La Source. Callan O'Keefe gets hung out to dry. He's forced wide over the curb, and so it's going to be Kevin Jurg who leads. Stein Schothorst second as they plunge downhill for the first time.
And there's going to be a 3 wide further back. Ben Barneycoat going side by side with Callan O'Keefe through Eau Rouge. O'Keefe, a big slide. Oh, they're still side by side. Excellent turn, but Ben Barneycoat's found a way through. Maybe had to use a bit more than just the circuit there, but now it has a massive disadvantage because he's slid out of Eau Rouge.
And the leading 3 have got away as well as they come uphill then for the first time. Schothorst goes to the outside of Jurg. Louis Delatraz is in 3rd spot, but only just because he's under attack for the car of Gustav Mallier as they funnel their way through Lecombe for the first time. So it's 4 for the race lead. Barneycoat trying to defend from Seb Morris, who's ahead of Callan O'Keefe there as they dive downhill for the first time. Schothorst has a look out of the slipstream to try and get the lead and also defend from Louis Delatraz as they dive through Bruxelles. Fantastic racing, and this is only the first half of the first lap through Speaker's Corner. So what was 3 for the lead, then became 4, it's now 5 in a line.
Yeah, and Barneycoat in 6th position, so dropped a position, but has managed to scamper away from that battle just behind him, and now needs to start refocusing himself on looking ahead rather than protecting himself as he was up the Kemmel Straight.
Race leaders then head to the Piff Path for the first time. Fights on for 4th, isn't it? Look, because there you can see Mallier having to really defend. They turn their way through the corner, but he's not yet being able to get away from the rest of them. Ben Barneycoat tries to join that party as well. Okio Sasahara going strongly in the Euro Nova car as through campus they come for the first time, past the educational buildings. Look at photographs of a couple of years ago. That was a big building site. Progress has moved on. Leaders come through them for the first time. So Ben Barneycoat here needs to get himself ahead of Stein Schothorst, doesn't he, for the championship? Schothorst running in a good second place. Barneycoat with work to do. And now Mallier is under attack. Look as they run side by side. Sasahara tries to make the move. He goes round the outside. Really brave stuff.
Was able to use the tarmac on the outside of the entry there and was able to get the momentum, and that's also slowed down the yellow machine and pushed him into Ben Barneycoat, and therefore Barneycoat's going to have a great opportunity going into the braking zone. And Callan O'Keefe, I think we saw swapping ends.
There's certainly drama. It's not O'Keefe that's gone round. It is, I'm afraid, Ryan Tweeter. So he will slip to the back of the order.
It is O'Keefe has gone somewhere though, because he's dropped all the way back onto our second page of our timing screens.
Okay, he's got caught up somewhere, as you say, and at La Source there's more catching up and some run wide. Thankfully, all that run off tarmac does give you plan B, doesn't it? You can avoid an incident and run wide. So O'Keefe 22nd at the end of the opening lap, having started second on the grid. Miserable weekend. He got fired off on the opening lap yesterday, and drama befalls him again now. So Kevin Jurg is leading, Stein Schothorst is second, Louis Delatraz is third, Okio Sasahara is fourth, Gustav Mallier is fifth, Ben Barneycoat is sixth, not anymore. Delatraz has gone second, heading up to Licon, but back round the outside goes Shot Horse in the multicoloured car, and he retakes second place. Fantastic!
But runs a little bit wide through the second part, and therefore gives the advantage back to Delatraz in terms of momentum anyway as they head down into Brussels. But is that going to be brave down the inside? No. Holds on to position for Shot Horse. And Delatraz will have to refocus and work out where he can next challenge. But of course, with that thinking, with that challenge, he's slowed his own pace down and now has Sasahara behind him.
And then behind Sasahara is Gustav Malya in the yellow car, who's just done the best of anybody in the first sector. Leaders downhill, heading through Pouhon. Ben Barnicoat's trying to join the mix as well as they work their way now through the long left and up towards the Piff Path. Right, Kevin Jurg is the race leader, and he's just starting to get away a little bit now, and it looks as though he could be on for a second win of the weekend, a third of the championship season, and that's going to be vital to get him back into the hunt. He's not done every race this year, Kevin Jurg, but he might start thinking differently about the future of the championship if he comes away from Spa with a double victory. That now is quite an impressive gap, and drama's there. I'm afraid we've got one car off and out of the race. It is Michele La Rosa. The Euronova car is off at Les Combes, and he did that all on his own by the look of it, Ben.
Yeah, just on the power a little bit too eagerly, perhaps slightly offline, and round goes the car into the wall.
So La Rosa is out. 25-minute race, not a set number of laps. This is the end of lap number 2, and you've got Delatraz and Sasahara almost banging wheels, heading down towards the bus stop. Sasahara looking very rapid indeed now. Malya and Barnicoat are behind. Jurg leading the way.
Big slide as he gets on the power a little too early through the chicane, out of the chicane. Amazingly, he didn't lose too much in terms of momentum, but he's going to be under pressure from Malya now as they head into the big braking zone at La Source, and Malya puts the car down the inside. Surely he's going to make that stick, and Barnicoat follows through.
Great move by Barnicoat, really opportunistic stuff. He saw there was a gap developing and he went for it, so he has gained a place as well. Then Barnicoat goes up into 5th, Malya up into 4th. Past the endurance pits they come then, and the one that's gone backwards out of all of that is Ukio Sasahara, and he was attacking but left the door open.
Yeah, he's been doing this strange thing on that last lap where he's giving the steering wheel a couple of jabs as he goes through various corners, so he's not particularly smooth, and I think we've got a safety car out. Yeah, safety car boards are out, but not on our timing screen.
Exactly right, yes, I saw a board, as did you, Ben, and a yellow flag, but it's not been reflected as such anywhere else. Let's just have a look. That's going to add to the confusion as the drivers head to Les Combes. They look like they are obeying a safety car instruction. There's very little diving going on, but it's not, as you rightly say, yet been reflected on the timing screens. And I'm trying to work out for why. It could be because of La Rosa's car having gone off. Also, Inigo Micuna didn't make it through to the end of the opening lap, so the plot thickens, because I'm looking around the circuit. We can't see terribly many marshals posts from where we are, but there is a car off the road that we know about. That is Michele La Rosa. Yes, it is in an awkward place, but yes, now the timing screen does say safety car, and it goes yellow on the graphic at the top, so we do go safety car, but the process there sort of slipped a little bit. But the safety car is now confirmed, and these laps will count within the 25 minutes.
Yeah, not an easy place to recover a car up there. The barrier is very close to the circuit, and no real access points through the barriers either to get that car off the track, and therefore the safest way is to neutralise the race.
So the safety car comes out on track. Werner Eichinger, who is the race director for the Formula Renault NEC, calls for it. Calls for the safety car, and everybody now will have a very slow run, because that's coming up the Camel Straight, and everybody else is heading towards the end of the lap.
Yeah, safety car might have to park it.
Yes, and wait. Yes. There you can see now the yellow flags have gone out all the way around the circuits, and the drivers have got the message. They're weaving around still to try and keep the warmth in the Michelin tyres. Well, that was a pretty lively first couple of laps, wasn't it? Battles everywhere.
As you'd expect from racing at Spa in single-seaters. Fantastic, these cars with limited amount of grip, limited amount of downforce from those wings, and therefore providing nice, big punches of holes in the air for slipstreams going into Les Combes, but also they move around a lot through the fast corners, and therefore just a small error can pay big dividends when you come to the end of a long period of flat outness. And that is why we need the safety car, because they actually have to bring a big truck onto the circuit.
So it's for the safety of the marshals who are trying to work. It's also for the safety of the drivers, although we did have the rather curious situation of a car being retrieved from a warming up lap incident at Silverstone, and the race got underway, and there was a recovery vehicle on the track, which gave people a little scare on the Hanger Straight, but it was all dealt with rapidly and safely, and the race carried on. So, as Ben says, the flatbed is there on track. We're currently on lap number 4. We have got just under 17 minutes of the race remaining, and the race order is Kevin Jurg ahead now of Stein Schothorst, ahead of Louis Delatraz, ahead of Gustav Malje, Ben Barnicoat 5th, and Nokia Sasahara 6th. 7th at the moment is Seb Morris. In 8th place, Matthew Graham. 9th is Raoul Owens. And 10th is where you find Stefan Riener. So that is the order. Safety car board, yellow flags fly.
So the cars that we've lost then are simply Michele De La Rosa, who crashed, and in fact we're going to see a replay of that now. Just got on the power too early, back comes round, and sadly tags the barrier and damages the rear wing and probably the rear suspension as well. He was one car, but we also, I don't think we even saw Inyo Bakuna even start the race.
I think you're right, because he's not shown us having gone through any sectors. So yeah, I think you're right, he might have been missing completely from the grid. So there is what's left of Michele De La Rosa's car. The damage to it, the damage to the tyre barrier, not that great. And of course the other good thing about an F1 circuit is there are lots of access gates and internal roads and perimeter roads, so they hopefully can point that out of the way quite swiftly. They don't have to bring it all the way back on the circuit. They could do that straight into the paddock from where it is without having to go on the circuit. So maybe we can go back to racing this time around.
Yeah, it's a long lap, so there's absolutely no problem once that car is on the flatbed, which it is.
Yeah.
They've got a long way to go before they could catch this car up, and in fact there is the slip road. He'll reverse in there. This track will then be safe, and you see the safety car not even through Pouhon yet, so a long time before we get to the start-finish track.
So we'll go back to racing at the end of this lap, which is the good news. We've got just over 15 minutes of the race remaining. Now Kevin Jörg, having made a really good start first time around, a standing start, has got to do it all over again from effectively a rolling start, but the way that he was driving suggests that that won't be an issue. Stein Schothorst now has got to be on his toes to defend, hasn't he, from Louis Delatraz.
Just before the safety car came out, we were talking about Sasahara and the reason he was losing a couple of positions. And twice on that lap, I saw him on a straight, sort of wiggling the steering wheel as though he wasn't quite sure whether he would go the inside or the outside. Quite erratic, and of course, by moving the steering wheel, you're scrubbing off speed and therefore compromising your momentum going into corners. And then he took about 4 stabs at that source, therefore lost the inside line, therefore Barnicoat got through as well. And hopefully this safety car period will have calmed him down a little bit, and he can think about using the steering wheel in a smooth fashion as he would have done maybe a year or two ago in karting. That's the way you are taught to drive, and by stabbing the steering wheel you're just not going to work anything other than your tyres too much and potentially lose out on speed. Safety car lights are out, and therefore we're not going green yet, but we will go green at the start of the next lap.
The one who gets the get out of jail free card in a sense is Callan O'Keefe, because everyone's bunched up ahead of him. If he can make progress, it's easier now with everybody in one group ahead of him, but he's 21st, so he has got a lot of work to do. But O'Keefe will be the man to watch, or one of the men to watch on the restart. It is now up to Kevin Jörg to control the pace. He can drop back, but once he starts to accelerate, he's got to maintain a consistent pace. You can't go and slow, because that just creates mayhem in the pack and it's very dangerous. So once he elects to accelerate, he's got to carry on at that pace or go quicker. Into the bus stop they come. Safety car peels into the pit lane. The lights go to green. We are back up and running here at Spa in round 9 of the Formula Renault 2-litre NEC. Over the timing line, Kevin Jörg leads the way. Does he get the drop on Stein Schothorst? He does by about half a second. Delatraz pulls out and pulls back in again to have a look to see if there's a possible move to be made there. At La Source, under braking, you've got to be really brave to do it, but I think the real overtaking is going to be done on the way up to Les Combes on this next lap.
And a big, long train of 24, 23 now, Formula Renault chassis. The tyres will be not quite up to the pressures that you'd expect. The brakes as well, as they go through Eau Rouge for the first time, flat out in 2 laps. And Jörg sits very much in the middle of the road, but look how small the car is in comparison to the wide Formula 1 circuit. You can get 3 or 4 cars wide here. And a very late challenge. We've got a bit of dust being thrown up in the background where someone's being forced onto the grass.
And Sasahara getting a toe off Ben Barnicoat and doing the best of anybody in the first sector on that lap. So he's in a big, big hurry. But Kevin Jörg is getting away. Look, once again, Delatraz then in the white car with the red nose. He's on the tail of Schothorst, and they all run a bit deep into Bruxelles. Malje missed his apex completely. Delatraz has run wide and lost a length. Barnicoat now might buy into this and get past the yellow car, as there, side by side, Seb Morris turns his way through Speaker's Corner, rattles over the curb. Seb Morris, the man from North Wales, back on track, drops downhill. Silverstone winner. He's not had a great weekend at Spa, but he's doing his level best to get up the order now. Kevin Jörg it is then who leads the way. heading up towards us with Stein Schotthorst, who comes from a good racing family. He runs second. Delatraz, second generation racer as well, third. And there is Barnicoat trying to fend off Sasahara. There's an awful lot in this race that's still yet to be resolved.
There was a lot. There was one person that really lost out in that restart, and that was Harry Salmonen. I think he passed the sector 1, timing being last of all the cars, having made a very slow first sector.
Right.
And we did see some dust, so potentially he was the man that was forced on the grass.
Got mugged in the first sector potentially then as the leaders. Lap 5 work their way up towards the Paul Frere. And the race leader, Kevin Jurg, who really does rebel inspire, doesn't he? Having won race 1 yesterday, continues to build the gap for the second time in the race. Now, what about Sasahara versus Barnicoat? Here they come. Ben Barnicoat in the red, white and blue car for Fortec, the Racing Steps Foundation driver. He's going to be mugged, is he? Sasahara tries to go around the outside, thinks better of it, slots back in. If he can stay on the tail, he might be able to have a go at La Source up the inside. Yeah,
absolutely. The move probably wasn't really on there. Ben Barnicoat would have been very wise to that one, but this is where he can't defend so much. The circuit's so wide, and Sasahara can go to the outside or the inside. And again, that strange move where he sort of can't really decide whether he wants to go inside or outside the car in front.
Down towards Eau Rouge they come then. Nose to tail. Ben Barnicoat frustrated here by having to defend. It means he can't concentrate on trying to catch Gustave Mallier ahead. Behind Sasahara is now Matthew Graham for AVF, and he's gained a place, so he's buying into this battle as well. And now surely this is Sasahara's chance to get ahead of the Brit.
Yes, now to the outside line with the slipstream. He's got better momentum, better speed, forcing Ben Barnicoat to the inside. Ben Barnicoat having to probably ease off the throttle just a little bit. Very aggressive driving from Sasahara, but he does get the move done. Barnicoat can now settle down and work out a way of trying to get past this rather erratic-looking Formula Renault.
So down to 6th goes the man who came into this race leading the championship, Stein Schotthorst. If he stays where he is, will take over the lead of the championship. So Ben Barnicoat really does need to dig deep here, doesn't he, and get himself back up the order, and or hope that something goes wrong for Schotthorst. But Stein Schotthorst has got better and better and better as the year has gone on, and somebody else off the road, I'm afraid, Raoul Owens. And that, I think, is at Les Combes, and it looks pretty, it is, and he's pretty close to the edge of the road. He wasn't alone in that, was he?
I think he might have been helped by Seb Morris.
I think you're right, he was certainly running with him, wasn't he? And given where that car has come to rest, I have a horrible feeling we might have another of the safety car situations, but we'll see what the race director decides to do.
Eyes peeled for yellow flags and safety car boards.
Yes,
then.
Exactly. So 9.5 minutes remain. And it's like the middle stint, isn't it, almost, this, if we do have another safety car. It's been led by Kevin Jurg. He's a second to the good as they work their way out of campus, heading up towards the Paul Frere. There's Gustave Mallier having a pretty decent run of this. Gustave had a win at Hockenheim.
Yeah, so Seb Morris has dropped out the top 20 as well. There he is.
Yeah, I think he might have had some damage because that looks like a car that doesn't want to handle properly. We go safety car for the second time. Safety car for the second time, and Seb Morris, I think, did get caught up then with Raoul Owens. He's got some suspension damage. The net result of that is it's a car that doesn't want to go in a straight line. He's struggling either to park it or to get back to the pits. And so we will go safety car again with just under 9 minutes on the clock here at Spa.
Yeah, they were squabbling over 8th position at the time, and there was a full car battle there. Difficult to say exactly what happened at the moment, but Morris and Owens then looked like they're both out of the race and falling down the order.
Yeah.
Where has that meant that Callum O'Keefe has got himself up to?
16th.
Yeah, not bad.
That's all right, isn't it? So he's getting on with the job. And again, with everybody bunched up ahead of him, he might be good for a few points come the end of this race. So the safety car heads past the old pits, what are now known really as the endurance pits, scoops everybody up. And how many more racing laps are we going to get in here? It was 11 yesterday in a natural race. Callum O'Keefe, the one casualty on that one. And everybody slows right down because, of course, they're heading up towards the danger zone. There is Callum O'Keefe in the Lotus liveried ART Junior Team car that we've been talking about after his dramas early in the race. And the field working its way at this much reduced pace uphill. Glorious weather conditions at Spa. It has been, I think, the nicest weather of a Spa weekend I can remember. There's not been really anything nasty at all. Maybe it's saving itself up for the 24 hours, which will start this afternoon, but for the support races, they've had sweltering heat in which to compete this weekend. The engineers have got a suntan rather than been bedraggled, which is what normally happens in the outer paddocks. So through Les Combes goes the safety car, and Kevin Jurg is the leader, and this is why we have the race interrupted once again with a car off at an awkward place up at Les Combes. Not that badly damaged, but I'm afraid it's parked by the side of the road. And as soon as the pack has gone past, then the officials can be released to go and work on that, can't they?
And the recovery vehicle that would have come and collected that car has already got a car on the back of it, heading back to the paddock with Michael De Rosa. So the recovery vehicle from the next marshal post that may well be up here at La Source.
It's going to take a
head
bit
round
longer,
there.
Yeah. It's just gone past us now. In fact, we're at the start and finish line, and the Grand Prix du Camion du Spa has just started because there's a truck on the track now that's at some pace heading up towards La Source.
And the major challenge is getting up Eau Rouge.
That's right. So there's a very disconsolate Raoul Owens, who knows that when he gets back to the pit lane, he's got some explaining to do for Mark Burdett Motorsport mechanics, who looked after him all weekend. But I'm afraid that drama befalls. 11th in yesterday's race and retirement today. Seb Morris had an 8th yesterday, just to finish his part of the story, and Seb again a retirement from this race as well. So 6 more minutes on the clock, of course, when a racing lap anyway here is 2 minutes and 20, and then you have to throw a lengthy safety car period. It soon eats into the duration, doesn't it?
I reckon we're going to have one racing lap.
Could be right, actually.
A sprint to the flag.
Yes.
What's that in America? That's a yellow and white checker, or green and white checker?
Oh, yes. Well, that's assuming they all get round the com on that one racing lap. So we shall see. That's been the downfall of quite a few in this race. Everyone trying to maintain the warmth in the tyres. Frustrating for the drivers. Partly Kevin Ure, because every time he builds a gap it disappears. The likes of Callan O'Keefe, okay, yeah, one safety car helps, 2 doesn't, because he runs out of laps in which he can make the progress.
Absolutely.
So big frustration for this second intervention of the safety car. The drivers just want to get on with this and see what progress can be made up to the checkered flag.
And safety car periods are very interesting for the junior single-seaters, because a lot of these drivers will be in their first year of single-seaters. They would have come out of karting, and in karting you don't have a safety car period. It's not something that exists. You either have a yellow flag zone or you have a red flag, but you never have a race neutralisation. I think they tried it a couple of times, it didn't really work, and therefore there's a whole process that you have to go through here with running at a slow speed as the tyre pressures decrease and the brake temperatures decrease. That what you have to do to keep the car in sort of racing trim is something these guys will learn, and when they get back to flat out and suddenly find they've got cold brakes and the tyres aren't the same pressure, is something that is another learning curve alongside just racing a single-seater rather than a kart.
So again, it's all part of this driver training process. You tend to look at a category and think whether it gives good racing to the eye, but there's more to it than that. It's all about helping drivers evolve, and Renault has been a huge supporter of junior single-seater racing. Formula Renault's origins you can trace back to the 70s in France, but then in the late 1980s, so the late Robert Fernald and Tim Jackson, who was then at Renault Sport, decided to import Formula Renault to the UK, and it started rather hesitantly, but then it soon caught on and really killed off Formula Vauxhall in the UK. The international series followed after that. Formula Renault itself had huge success in domestic markets, and now you have these regional international championships. There is a European series, but NEC takes in a given number of countries and produces this very, very strong championship. It gives drivers a chance to go to some new circuits and learn for the future. It gives the teams a chance to appeal to a different audience in terms of drivers with a budget. They're not just looking at people from their own countries these days. And although, as I say, there are 1 or 2 regional championships, NEC is the strongest of them. It delivers great racing, and it's a real credit to Mick de Haas, the man behind it, that it continues to pull in big, big grids. There's also the Formula Renault 1.6 category as well, which is, if you like, that sort of halfway house between karting and this. So it's not just 2-litre engine Formula Renault that appeals to drivers and teams. And those talk perhaps for next year of trying to align the two more for the Northern European Cup, so that the teams can have a 2-litre car and a 1600cc car at the same event, and therefore they've only got one set of transport costs. They can run them in parallel, and that would be good as well, because if a driver can go from karting into Formula Renault 1600 and then into the 2-litre category, you can see how that ladder develops, can't you?
And ladders are very important in motorsport. We always talk about ladders, and therefore from this they can move into 3.5 Renault.
Yeah. And
there's a very clear lineage, especially when you move into the Euro Cup that runs alongside it, and there is the damage to that car.
We're going to go racing at the end of this lap, I think, and you will be right. It's going to be 1 lap if they can get back to the line in less than 2.5 minutes. It's going to be touch and go, but I think if the pace car, the safety car, ups its pace a little bit, which you can legitimately do so they get warmed back into the tyres for a safe restart, we should just eke one more lap out of this.
Yeah, well, we're only going into Brussels at the moment with the safety car. The safety car, yes, it needs to get round before the time elapses, doesn't it? It's going to be close.
It is going to be close. The lights are off, so the sorry, no, they're not quite off yet, I don't think, but the indication will be given when it gets to the second safety car line, which is down near campus. So we will go back to racing. Yes, apologies, the lights are still flickering, but the lights will go off this time.
Yeah, there's a set area where they will go off, so so drivers know to look at a certain point. They won't just go off willy-nilly. It's somewhere at the end of sector 2.
That's right. So then the drivers will control the pace, but they've in turn got to get there before the end of 1 minute and 36 seconds now, because even if the pace car quickens its pace, if Kevin Jurg trundles and therefore brought them round to take the checkered flag to secure his win, that's kind of down to him, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, and if he's a thinking man, then he could easily do that if he knew one point there was only 1 minute and 20. Delay enough time so that the time elapses, the checker flag has to fall. Exactly right.
So let's see what he does here. Everybody behind him will want to crack on. Kevin Jurg has a completely different ballpark altogether in this. The yellow flags wave for the moment. They are heading down towards the second safety car line, and we have got, as you can see, bang on 1 minute. Now, in theory, they should be okay to get round. However, as we've explained...
you can't drive too slowly.
No, that's true. You can't limp. But Kevin Jurg may have other ideas about this. It would be awful for him if it was a one-lap dash and he got mugged on the last lap. But here we come. He is weaving around to get some warmth back in the tyres, which does suggest that he's going to be on his toes.
Lights are now off.
Yeah, 36 seconds remain. Tick, 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 tick. So it's going to be touch and go, this. But Kevin Jurg, Stein Schotthorst, Louis Delatraz, the top three.
It's the sort of thing that you'd see in the top echelons of FIA Motorsport that makes it look all silly, but I think the junior guys just love their racing, and therefore
it's going to be close. Absolutely. 30, they're not going to do it. It's going to be the checkered flag. They're not going to get to the line in 10 seconds is a prediction.
And therefore the positions won't change either.
No. So the flag is going to be out, and Kevin Jurg might speed up to get to the line, but we've now had the 25 minutes. It is going to be the finish, so here they come into the bus stop, but they're going to be greeted by the checkered flag, so they can't overtake it until they get to the timing line, and at the timing line it's the checkered flag.
Hey!
And so Kevin Jurg has done it. He's timed it to perfection. It's a rather unsatisfactory end in a sense to what was shaping up to be a great race, but Kevin Jurg does, with no doubt some help from the pit wall, use his brain. And you've noticed something lower down the field, Ben?
Yeah, Josef Zaba seems to have disappeared on that last lap. So he was up in about 10th position, but has fallen... Yeah, he disappeared on the last lap in the second sector.
So, it's curious. Something has befallen him. The drivers quickly make their way down the pit lane. So Kevin Jurg it is who takes the race win. And while he was racing, he drove very, very well, because, of course, he had to make a decent start from a standing start. He was then able to build a gap, do it all over again on the rolling start. And Kevin Jurg takes the win from Stein Schotthorst, who will put himself into the lead of the championship on that basis. And then Louis Delatraz taking third. Ben Barnicoat in the end finished in 6th place. So that was how the championship leader finished. Disappointment for him. And the gap at the flag, such as it mattered, was 0.478 of a second. But of course it's a rather false gap, given that everybody had bunched up under the safety car and then bunched up again, given that Kevin Jurg had backed his pace right off heading to the timing line. So Kevin Jurg does it. He takes the win. And as I say, it was intelligent driving. I think the Josef Kaufmann team may also have perhaps been able to offer an instruction that he should have gone slowly to make sure he hung on and took the honours. Let's look at the highlights then. Away from the start, Callan O'Keefe bogged down just a little and lost a couple of spaces. Then it was Kevin Jurg versus Stein Schotthorst down to the first corner. Jurg never headed in the race from that point. As is the tradition at Les Sources, many got bundled out wide over the curb and over the AstroTurf. Battles developed straight away. Schotthorst round the outside of Louis Delatraz up into second place. Ben Barnicoat battling with Callan O'Keefe. He'd made that sluggish start. Barnicoat went round the outside, and then the dramas started to come. The first one off was Michele La Rosa, and that brought out the first safety car of the race. La Rosa okay, rear damage, rear wing knocked off, suspension broken. Barnicoat versus Ukio Sasahara was the next fight that became instantly worth watching. And then Seb Morris and Raoul Owens got together. Morris with damage limped 2 corners on. but Raoul Owens was out of the race. That brought out our second interruption, our second safety car period, and this time there just wasn't enough of the race left to go racing once again. There's a very forlorn looking Raoul Owens sat by the side of the road. It was a run to purely the checkered flag, the race not properly restarting. So Kevin Jurg took the honours. The championship incidentally moves to Assen next, then to Most and the Nürburgring, supporting the Blancpain Endurance Series in September for the grand finale. Kevin Jurg, the winner, from Stein Schotthorst and Louis Delatraz. Gustav Malya fourth, Ukia Sasahara fifth, ahead of Ben Barnicoat and Matthew Graham. Stefan Rina eighth, ahead of then Rikard Janssen. In 10th, Jake Hughes. Then for 11th place was Roy Geertz, and finishing in 12th, Jules Gounon. Cedric Freiberghaus was ahead of Martin Kodrich. Callan O'Keefe 15th in the end after Ryan Feiter had a spin for 16th. Julio Moreno 17th. 18th place is where you find Andrea Barrera, David Richer 19th, and Harry Silmanen rounding out the 20 who made it to the finish. After that, drivers with dramas didn't get to the flag, sad to say. Well, Formula Renault 2-litre NEC, the Northern European Cup, always generates good racing. It's a shame there wasn't a little bit more of it in today's race. Murphy's Law, isn't it, that the one that goes for television is the one that has all the dramas in it. But yesterday's race only had the one non-finisher, Callan O'Keefe, and it was won by Kevin Jurg by 9.6 seconds. Today, a very, very different story, but largely because of the safety car periods that we've been talking about. And the championship moves from Spa to Assen, which will be a real test for them, because Assen, of course, is more of a motorbike circuit these days. It's not that wide, and Formula Renault, not the easiest of cars, single-seaters with wings in general, not that easy in which to overtake, so that'll be a real test of the drivers in qualifying. Then it goes to Most in the Czech Republic, and the Nürburgring, the modern-day Formula 1 Grand Prix venue, for the final brace of races in September, and that is a weekend with the Blancpain Endurance Series. It's a really good weekend of racing, so it's a chance I would encourage you to go and watch in the flesh rather than on the streaming, to go and have a look at the cars across all the categories in action that weekend. But Kevin Jurg, who came into the weekend 15th in the championship, having not done more than one weekend. He didn't do Silverstone, he didn't do Hockenheim, but now with 2 wins this weekend, he really, really does punt himself up the order. And that hopefully will suggest that he's going to do more races this year now, and see what he can do about the championship, because he is the only man to have won more than once. He's now won 3 times. He's the only person, of course, therefore, to do the double in a weekend. And on that basis, he marks himself out as being a real threat now, if the budget is there and his schedule permits, that he can come and do every race in this year's series. Ben Barnicoat, having taken over the lead of the championship yesterday, had a win at Hockenheim. He's now dropped back again in the championship standings after 6th place. Frustrating race that for Ben. He got himself involved in that early battle with Callan O'Keefe, and it never really developed for him. You could argue that he never had a proper crack of the whip, because every time he was about to do something, out came the next safety car period, so that was a frustration for him inevitably. But it just didn't quite gel in the way that you might have hoped today for Ben Barnicoat, and so he will go to Assen conscious that he's got to do some heroics in the championship to start scoring more points once again. What about the others? Well, it was Stein Schotthorst, who was a point back and finished second in that race, who now takes over the championship lead. Stein Schotthorst with a 4th yesterday and a 2nd today, equaling his best result of Hockenheim, so he's not had a win yet, but he's leading the championship, and he's doing it kind of by stealth, isn't he? Racking up the points, keeping out of trouble, doing a good solid job race by race, and Stein Schotthorst now becoming a real factor for the championship this year. He drives for the successful Manor MP Motorsport team that's grown out of Manor Motorsport, which used to be John Booth's team. But of course, John now running the Mauritius Formula 1 squad. Tony Shaw having taken over Manor Motorsport, and some Dutch influence making it Manor MP Motorsport. And Stein Schotthorst starting now to show his worth in that team, starting in that race 3rd on the grid and coming through for 2nd spot. So Formula Renault 2-litre NEC has the drivers making their way up to the podium, and as I say, we've still got a further 6 races to go, 7 races to go rather, because there's a triple header as well to come before the end of the season. The Assen and Most races having a little bit more space in the timetable, whereas the Nürburgring weekend, the championship finale, is rather tighter packed. The race is here running as a support race to the Total 24 Hours of Spa, which always generates a big crowd. and it's starting to fill up nicely here at the home of the RACB, or Automobile Club of Belgium. More and more of the guests, more and more of the fans arriving, ready for the main focus of Belgium's motorsporting year, the 24 hours, which begins at 4:30 this afternoon. But Formula Renault then has once again delivered drama, delivered excitement, and it has delivered another win for Kevin Jurg. He puts himself there now as the only man to have won both races of a weekend. He's won 3 races of the championship season, 3 out of 9, which is more than anybody else. So he marks himself out as the winningest driver thus far in the championship season. And he will make his way up in a moment to the podium to be joined by Stijn Schothorst and Louis Delatraz at the end of another intriguing 9th round of the championship. Many drivers, I think, will have a hard luck story that they couldn't get on with the job. They couldn't get on with the overtaking because there just wasn't enough proper racing time in the event itself. But come the end, it was all about Kevin Jurg, and the driver that started on pole position for Josef Kaufmann Racing dominates the race and scores that 3rd victory of the season. Kevin Jurg, the man to beat for the remainder of the season, as I say, but assuming that he does continue for the rest of the year. So Formula Renault 2 litre moves from Spa to Assen for now. From Ben Constanduros and David Addison, bye for now.